Yeah.
If I can share a story, uh, it was back in 2004. Uh, I worked with a pro football quarterback, and he was on his way out. They had figured that there was no way to get him to play properly. He had all the skills in the world, but he had problems between his ears. I worked with him for a week. I have a program that helps people transform themselves. And from then on, it took about, I'd say, a month and a half, but he got into it. And the history demonstrates he won the Grey Cup 3 times after that and retired with the second best records in the CFL. And it was all about changing his mindset and how he saw himself.
So when every team, like I know the Flames have a sports psychologist. I was going to phone him yesterday because he was a football player at the University of Calgary and played with my son-in-law on the same football team. And so good friends of my daughter's family. I know him socially as, and he is the sports psychologist for the Flames. And when you get working with a team, I'm curious about the open mindedness to share ideas with one another. Um, I'm reading a book on hidden potential right now by, I'm not sure, Adam, well, I don't have the last name, but it is brilliant. And it doesn't talk hockey, it talks life and the the way of learning and influencing and scaffolding in terms of bringing ideas together and listening to other people and sometimes better ideas come from somebody lower in the hierarchy than the person at the top or the sports psychologist. So right now the problem is obviously an organizational one in terms of being able to appreciate what needs to be done and being able to do the right thing. And it's a process, a complex process. But the more that an organization can engage its members at every level in an authentic way to share their ideas, the more likely they're going to come up with a solution. But right now, everything is sort of linear, hierarchical, and top down. And I think that whether it's leadership or the situations we're talking about, that's a problem. Leadership is a problem that interferes with what you're the work you doing. You just can't. You'd love to get your hands on that player and know you can help him, and I know you could. But how does your kind of thinking get into that organization so that they call upon you or at least share your ideas with their side? Because no player should be underperforming to that degree. I can't imagine the feeling state that he would be in coming to the rink every day with more than a piano on his back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the everything has a front and a back. Everything has a front and a back. And one of the backs of having the contract that he has, which would seem to be wonderful, is that there's an expectation to perform at a remarkable level. And that's a pressure. And again, if we look at this and we say, with too much pressure, performance drops off, and we have to be able to deal with that pressure. I know one player who I've worked with took less money a couple of years ago. He's an older player, and he didn't want to. He didn't want to. I mean, we're talking a couple of $1 million, but he didn't want to ask for more because it would be an extra pressure on him. He was a sensitive guy. He's fine. I know how his agent felt about that, but that's another story. But you know, you were going to mention the golf book.
Oh, yes.
And I wrote a book recently called Winning Golf, The Mental Game. And I think it's interesting. For years and years, people were saying to me, write a book about golf, write a book about golf. And so I did. And it deals again with right focus, right feeling, and right attitude. And one of the things that's interesting in the book was I have one chapter where I talk about transferring skills. And I took 5 players, 3 NHL guys and 2 NFL guys. And these were players that I had worked with for a number of years, not just 1 or 2 sessions. And I asked them how the work that we did when they were playing hockey has helped. These are all keen golfers, have helped their golf game. And one of them is an occasional shark, and Morris Lukowich. And the hockey players had some really interesting things to say in different ways about how the stuff we did, because it was right focus, talking to yourself in a certain way, seeing the shot you want to make, doing the visualization, creating the right feeling so that energy is just flowing through you. As I tell them, the ball has no energy of its own. It gets its energy from you. And so if you really get in touch and have good energy flow, the ball will go more where you want it to go. And Morris had some really, I thought, clever things to say about that. And Cliff Ronning had an interesting comment. He said, it's much easier playing hockey than playing golf, because if you get pissed off in hockey, you can go cross-check somebody, and you just can't do that in golf. So anyway, I brought it up because so many hockey players are golfers. I guess because in the summer you're off and you have a chance to get on the golf course. And so if you're any of you are golfers, I highly recommend the book, Winning Golf, The Mental Game. Yeah, it's hockey tough for golfers.
So I have to tell you the story of Morris and I were at a Hockey Canada fundraising golf tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And Morris, of course, was playing. I was just riding the cart, riding with him and riding with different people, just hobnobbing with corporate people who were traveling with athletes and golfing with them. And it was the day was finished before going in for supper, and Morris was working on his drive towards this hole, and I was with him while he was doing it. And I said to him, you know, I'm not a golfer. I never I played hockey, but I didn't really golf. And Morris is a very perfectionist, high achiever. He was working on his swing, and he was frustrated, but working on his swing. And I just told him to do. I'll give you an idea. I said, I want you to think of your favorite coach ever. And we talked about, and you know who he was, Pat Quinn. So he talked about Pat Quinn. And I said, just close your eyes, think about him and how you feel about him. And I said, now go ahead and drive the ball. Bang. So he just changed his mindset. Absolutely. He wasn't doing anything else, just changed his mindset.
I think it's a really good technique, Wally. I mean, it's really good insight on your part. Just get him to think about something, you know, something inspiring, somebody who helped bring out the best in him or whatever. You know, you could, yeah, absolutely. That's a very simple, clever technique. And you just see how changing your feelings, changing your focus makes a difference.
You know, Saul, I have to share this story. Years ago, I was in Japan and I was observing the pro teams getting prepared for the Nagano Olympics. And it just happened that the two, Willie Desjardins and the coach of the other team, oh gosh, from University of Alberta, were playing in the final.
Billy Moore's.
Yes, Billy Moore's. And they beat out OG, who are the Montreal Canadiens, the Russian coach team of the Japanese league. And each team had 2 or 3 Japanese Canadians on the team. And they got to the final game, and I went to Billy Moore's team's meeting after the final game. And he pulled a rabbit out of the hat. It was a Claire Drake idea where he asked the players to think of the favorite person in their life that influenced their life and talk about them. And it came to Steve Jajura, who I think was the captain on the team, and he broke down in tears talking about his mother. And they dedicated their final game to that person and put their names on tape on the hockey sticks. And of course, they won. It was almost like too good to be true. Well, I returned to Canada and just happened in on the 6th game of a playoff game with the University Calgary Canucks Junior A team, and they lost that game, so they had to play a 7th. And I'm sitting in the stands with Dave King's son, who played with the other team in the city, and he said, I played against the Canucks all year. He said, they're a better team. I didn't know. I thought, okay, they lost it. And so I said, I'm going to go down and see my friend Don Phelps, who had coached the team. And I shared the Billy Moore story with him. He went into the dressing room, did the same thing. They put names on their sticks, dedicated that game and the rest of the season to it. They ended up winning the national championship. So the distraction and focus on somebody you love overrode the tension, the anxiety of winning or losing, because you dedicate yourself to love of the game,
And
love your family.
you're getting
It's quite simple.
It's a great story, and you're the dedication of love, but it's getting yourself out of a mindset that's limiting. And there's a number of ways to do it. Morris Lukowich, when Morris was coaching the Calgary Rads in the North American Roller Hockey League, they had played the Vancouver team twice during the season, and they had lost badly. I think the goal differential was something like, I don't know, 26-9 or something. And they were badly beaten. And the way it worked out was that the Calgary Rads had to play the Vancouver team in the playoffs, a single knockout game in Vancouver. And Morris called me up and he said, Saul, the guys just don't believe we can win the game. Is there anything you can do to give us a hand? So I said, sure. So I came down to the hotel and I spent some time with the guys. I said, it's just one game. They may have a better team. First of all, they were coached by Tiger Williams, which was another thing. They may have a better team, but this is one game. And in one game, we can do anything. And I got into this whole thing about pick an animal, that mindset. And I said, if we became like a pack of wolves, if we truly became like a pack of wolves and we were hunting in the O zone, we were really aggressive, and we were hunting in the D zone, and we were playing like it's our puck, and that line comes off and the next line comes on and they're hunting and I said, if we truly are like that, we can beat these guys. And they went out there and they beat them. They knocked them out of the playoffs. And that after the game, we went to this very upscale restaurant in Vancouver, and the guys came in the restaurant and they were howling like wolves. And of course, people got a big kick out of it. But yeah, it's getting people out of the mind that limits you. And I think if you can do it with love, love is a core source. Fear is the great limiter, where we started this conversation. And I have one other story I've got to share with you. You mentioned Willie Desjardins, who I had the pleasure of working with for 6 years in Medicine Hat. And we won the Western Hockey League Championship, and we were playing in the Memorial Cup, and we were playing the Vancouver Giants in the final game. And we had played the Giants for the Western Hockey League Championship. It went to Game 7, double overtime, and we won the game. And then because they were hosting the Memorial Cup, we had to play them again. We played them in the preliminary round and we beat them. And then unbelievably, we go to the finals and we're playing them again, and we lost the game. They had Milan Lucic, we had Derek Dorsett. There was, it was all these stuff going on. It was a really good game, and we lost. And our guys were devastated. Guys were crying in the dressing room after the game. It was really upset. And Gordie Howe, who had been one of the owners of the Giants, came into our dressing room. And Gordie said to the boys, he said, "Look, guys, I want to tell you something. I thought you guys played great. You're a really, really great team. You should be so proud of yourselves for, winning the championship, coming here, being finalists. You guys really did a great job." And he went around, shook it. He said, "I played for over 40 years and we only won 3 times, He said, "You should be very proud." He shook a few hands and then he left. And a couple of the guys said, "Who was that old guy?"
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's just like us old guys here. Who are these old guys? Well, it's a great way, a concluding story to our session, Saul.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on. I'll welcome you coming on anytime. And when you're on, like Ray, who's been a guest before, whatever the topic, I will ask leading questions to bring you in, to bring your expertise to the topic that we are referring to. I'm going to promote your book, cut this up into, I imagine, about 6 to 8 or 10 pieces, and send it out to, I've got an audience of 600, and I asked them to pay it forward. In other words, send it to somebody who might appreciate it and use it, and encourage them to pay it forward. And my mantra is the good of the game, the perspective of the game and what sports can do. That's sort of been I've dedicated my life to that. Both you and I have lost our partners, and I think life has taken on more of a simpler meaning and given us a perspective that very few people have. And so dedicating your talk to the good of the game and thanking you and thanking everybody that came on today. I want you all to have a Merry Christmas. Tomorrow, I think, is my 78th birthday.
Oh.
So I made it another year, and we're hoping for a few more, that's for sure. So have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
Take care,
birthday.
Saul.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Come over to Henry Viney tonight, Wally, at 4.
I'll write it down. I think I will. Just come and say hello.
I agree with the girls. We'll kind of practice for 45, and then they're gonna put on some Christmas hats and stuff like this, and they'll scrimmage for 45.
Okay. I see Hal Terse. Is that Hal?
Yeah, how are you doing, Hal?
Hi, guys.
Where are
Sorry,
you?
I've been on my phone all day. I've been listening the whole time, but it was a great session. Thanks, all. Awesome stuff. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Okay. Take care.
Yep, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. See you tonight, Tom.
All right, see you, Wally.
Bye-bye.